Let's take a look at one more and notice this time my graph is going to be vertical. And what is that? How does that change our way we do slope? So I got x1 and y1, x2 and y2. To find the slope, we subtract our y's over we subtract our x's. And then I'm going to say negative 2 minus 4 over negative 3 minus a negative 3. And notice negative 3 plus 3, that's 0. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. How do you simplify negative 6 over 0? Well, if I type in negative 6 divided by 0, notice your Desmos calculator says undefined. You cannot divide by 0. You don't get a number here. Your slope, we say, is undefined. Don't tell me it has no slope, but it's undefined. The slope is undefined. You can't divide by 0. I can't take a group of things and put them into 0 groups and tell me how many there are in each group. It's just impossible. So if you end up with divided by 0, or you end up with a vertical line, just notice it's always going to be undefined if it's vertical. Now let's take a look at our next example here. I want to find the value of r. Oh, a little backwards this time. I'm given the slope. I want to find what one of the coordinates are. No, we don't let that confuse you. We still do it the same way. I'm going to blow this up a little bit here so it's easier to write above there. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So I know my slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But this time, instead of finding the slope, I know it. So I'm going to say 3/4. I'll rewrite that 3 there. Equals r minus 5 all over 4 minus a negative 4. And then we're going to say, let's simplify that. So 3 over 4 equals r minus 5 over 8. And we could do a couple things here, but I just think the easiest, let's just clear our fractions. I don't want a fraction, so I want to multiply both sides by 8. 8 over 1, if that confuses you. Notice what happens to my 8s. On the right-hand side, they reduce out. On the left-hand side, 4 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. So 6 equals r minus 5. What do we do to solve for r? Well, we add 5 to both sides. So 11 equals r. We will do that without cross multiplying. If you can do this problem and get 11 for an answer, you probably are cross multiplying correct. But so many people make mistakes with cross multiplying, I don't like to use that. Now finally, let's take a look at our last example we have here. And that is, I've got a application here. And it says, what's the slope of the continent off of Cape Hatteras? What is the slope of the continental slope? So it falls here, doesn't it? So notice what happens here. We've just got these 2 points. So 75 and negative 65, that's x1 and y1. And then 125 would be my x2. And negative 2700 would be my y2. So let's substitute those in here. So we're going to say negative 2700 Should write down my formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All I'm doing is I'm finding the slope. So I'm going to say negative 2,700 minus 75 all over 125. Oops, that was negative 65, wasn't it? Almost made a careless error there. My y2 was negative 65, wasn't it? So we're going to say negative 2,700 minus negative 65 all over 125 minus 75. Now we can simplify that a little bit. I'm going to say negative 2,700 plus 65. And that turns out to be negative 2635. $125 minus 75, that is maybe 2550, isn't it? And if I take negative 2635 divided by 50, I get negative 52.7. Now, what that means is we're actually doing a rate of change here. No, we're not. We're just doing negative 52.7. I like a decimal for an application problem because that tells me something. That means every foot we go over, we're dropping 52.7 feet. So that's quite a drop, isn't it? As we get out there. Okay, let's work on your MT4 LT2 assignment. Take a picture of your work. You're definitely going to have work on these slope problems, aren't you? Maybe if they give you a problem where you do the work right on the screen, you might not have work for that particular problem. You are going to have some work for some of your problems as we do this assignment.